Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. The first story. Struggling with medical bills in a seemingly incompetent insurance company, OP repeatedly sent in their financial assistance. The second story. In a retail store, a micromanaging owner's demand for post-transaction calls led to business loss, customer complaints, and his eventual retirement. The third story. During a live fire range exercise, an insubordinate sergeant's refusal to let the armorer check guns' safety leads to a catastrophic mishap and earns him a humorous nickname, Sergeant Headspace. On to the first story. Oh, I have to resubmit my application because I never got the notification to give you more info? Alright, but I'm making darn sure you received it. So just to be clear, this is an ongoing issue/compliance, so no nice resolution just yet. Also, for clarity, I live in the US, so no universal healthcare and a lot of out-of-pocket medical expenses. So to start, over the past 12 months I've had to, on 3 separate occasions, had to get different medication tests done. First 2 were blood tests 4 months apart, due to different concerns, and another for a non-blood test. What I didn't know was that there was significant out-of-pocket costs for each of these tests, like almost $300 each time that I wasn't informed of until I got the bill. Well, being paid in a high cost of living city because of my career choice, on top of student loan payments, starting back up and a few unexpected expenses pop up, this was going to be hard to pay off. That's when I decided to apply for a financial assistance program through my insurance. Now, you would think having such a program would be nice of my insurance, which sounds not even close to razor temporary, and that's what I thought too. So I requested an application, filled it out and mailed it back in June. Got a confirmation message on my insurance apps that they had gotten the application, and to give them 21 business days to review it. I figured, okay, I can wait, and wait I did. And waited, and waited. Finally, mid-August, I figured I'd check up on the application, and after being bounced around in phone triage, I finally got to someone in customer services at insurance that doesn't remotely sound like pies or temporary who could give me an answer. Their answer? Oh, we never got your proof of income as requested, so we closed out the application. What request? We sent out a letter asking you to submit proof of income, but since we never got a response, we closed out the application. Mind you, this is not a request listed in the initial application form, nor had I ever gotten a letter or email, call, or even smoke signal from them informing me that they needed this info. But I never got this letter. Well, we sent it out in July, but I never got it. Can you guys please resend me this letter and email it to me again, and not close out my application? As soon as I get it, I'll send you the info, so I would know where to send it or attach it to the email. The representative agreed, and you would think I get the email and the letter. I submit my pay stubs, end of story. Well, you're wrong because guess what? Email never came in. Checked and rechecked and was chronically refreshing my email inbox in my junk folder. No email came in. So a few days later I called again. Guess who claimed, again, that they sent the email, which once again I never got. Guess who had to call 3 more times in order to get someone to submit the email while I was on the phone with them, before I got the effing email. So I finally got the email, attached my pay stubs to the email, and sent it back. Surely I'm done now? Nope. Within a week of doing this, I finally got the paper letter requesting the info. 1 day later, I got a paper letter saying because I never sent them my pay stubs, so they were closing out my application again. Well, as anyone at this point, saying I was frustrated and peeved would not cover it. Keep in mind, I still all this time having to make attempts to pay off my medical bills, and it's during this time that the 3rd test had to be done, so the bill grew even higher. I was told that this test was covered by my insurance. Clearly, this was not true. So I call again to file a complaint this time and to see what the heck was going on. The Duckers claim I never emailed them back with my pay stubs and I'd have to reapply. I was even told at one point, in reference to my complaint, I don't know what you're asking me to do, after I clearly told them why I was upset at this point. So I have to at this point reapply? Okay, I'll reapply and make sure this time there's absolutely no way you can say you never got my application. I went and printed off a month's worth of pay stubs and printed off 10 copies each. Have to be sure I don't forget those again, right? I then printed off 10 applications, filled them all out including recalculating how much out-of-pocket medical expenses I've had in the last 12 months. Oh, that test I had after I submitted my application the first time. Can't forget to add that. Oh, I had to refill my prescription and had a copay. Better include that too. By the end, the amount listed was more than $200 more than what it was when I first did the application. Now to make sure they get it. Now that following Monday, I went into the post office and asked for 10 stamps and to send something via certified mail. Less than $12 to enact my compliance. Every day for that week, a letter, numbered on the envelope, and application went out. The same exact application, signed and dated for the same day, same numbers. The only thing different is the number on the back of the envelope, and that on Monday I sent the first one via certified letter. Next Monday rolls around and not a peep from Visor Temporary. Oh, let's make sure all 5 letters didn't lose in the mail. Another certified letter, 5 more envelopes and applications with all the same information ready to go. Today I finally got a response via email. Thank you for your application. Please allow us 30 days to review your request. Oh, but this is pretty close to what they said last time. I can't stop sending them in. How will I know for sure they got all the info they needed this time? That is until they finally approve my application for financial help, like they should have done back in July. Edit. I have already. They just said that doctors shouldn't be making claims about if something is covered or not, and to set up a payment plan and or apply to their medical financial assistance program, which is what led to this saga in the first place. If they persist in causing trouble, you might consider involving your state attorney general. My sister faced a dental insurance coverage denial for an emergency situation during a procedure. She appealed the decision, but it was rejected. She was confident that it should have been covered as emergency surgery or something similar, so she lodged a complaint through our state's attorney general office. It's worth noting that the AG office was highly cooperative and provided thorough communication with my sister. The issue was resolved in about a month. However, this situation seems rather ridiculous. Your situation resembles an eternal struggle with lack of sleep and too many procedures, which could be funny if it were not so unpleasant. We wish you the best in your fight against the bureaucratic mirage and hope that your story will have a happy ending when they finally approve your application for financial aid. The second story is, so you want to be informed after every customer transaction? Bet. I'm pretty sure that if I asked for a show of hands, how many of y'all had that one manager or boss that was the worst at micromanaging? Roughly 80 to 85% of you guys would raise your hand. Anywho, a few years back, I used to work retail at a brick and mortar shop owned by a guy that, well, let's just say that if we left him alone, the place would fall apart within minutes. There was myself, 2 other associates, and 2 assistant managers, one of whom bought the business out, turned it into an online shop and is doing pretty well for himself. But I digress. Said owner had no clue how our inventory system worked, let alone our POS system. That's easy. Nightmare, I know. But absolutely insisted that he knew everything about the place inside and out, and threatened you with unemployment whenever things didn't go his way. One day I called his bluff and walked. Not 30 minutes later, while I was sitting in a nearby park, did he call me, begging for me to come back. Squeezed a sizable raise out of him in the process. Now, all of that to this, the meat of this little bit of malicious compliance. Said know-it-all owner was so convinced of his hype that he insisted/demanded that we call him after every customer transaction, go over what was said so he could tell us we were wrong, even after upselling and setting up a delivery account. Mind you, this is in the Upper West Side of Manhattan, where it's busy for roughly 5 out of the 8 hours during any given shift. Cue the MC. Despite a line of customers at my register, I had to stop things, pick up the phone and make the call, all while my line of customers, in what would be typical New York levels of patience, would drop their stuff and walk out. The ones that stuck around waited the 5, maybe 10 minutes each phone call. It got so bad at one point, one of my regulars, whom everyone knows to at least the second degree, points if you could guess who, grabbed the receiver and proceeded to lay into know-it-all owner about how he's losing business because of his asinine policy. Owner dug in his heels though, bless his heart, and insisted that things be done his way. Alright, bet. I tried to keep the convos receiver only. Now it's been upgraded to speakerphone. Now everyone in the store, and I do mean everyone, can hear how much of a colossal D he was. Business that was once about $5K a day in store sales dropped to just north of $1.5K, while deliveries, while at about $6K a day, dropped to roughly half that. With online reviews being the most hilarious I've read since I started working retail and customer service decades ago, know-it-all owner was forced to give up on his policy, eventually announcing his retirement a few months later and selling to the assistant manager I mentioned earlier. It's something we still joke about years later in our occasional catching up sessions. Me. Hey, remember that time Know-It-All demanded us that we call him after every transaction? AM. Yeah, I laughed in his face about it. He didn't like me much after. Edit. One of the reasons the business lasted the way it did was despite Know-It-All's insistence that we do things his way, we just up and said screw it, we're doing things our way, and just agreed on paper to get him off our backs. Your response to such a policy is a masterpiece example of how to respond to an overly controlling boss. The moment you decided to go to the game and show him how ridiculous his policy is, it's just a huge win. Huh? The idea of putting all calls on speakerphone is just incredibly funny. Imagine all the customers and employees who hear these conversations with your boring owner. How funny that as a result of this adventure, the owner was forced to change his policy and eventually announced his departure and sale of the business. Well, you won that one. Did he establish a specific, clearly defined duration during which you were instructed to keep calling him for every transaction? If not in a strict sense, you could theoretically continue making those calls, even though he's no longer present, without being accused of harassment. You would essentially be adhering to his explicit directives. The third story is, safety first is important in the military. This is a long time ago, so I was active duty in the U.S. Army from 1984 to 1988. I was stationed with an infantry unit, and after 2 years I went to school and became the unit armorer. I was responsible for physical security and maintenance of all company weapons and sensitive items. I also taught common task tests on weapon systems for the unit, and was on every live fire range we went to assist. I was an E4 at this time, enlisted but definitely outranked by anyone E5 and higher, and had to obey orders as every soldier does. Generally, when I came to weapon systems, I had to input, and could make statements. I could intercede if something was not correct or unsafe. This would work to a point, but I could not give an order to a superior, obviously. So fast forward to a live fire range with company crew-served weapons, specifically 50 BMG heavy machine guns. This is a powerful weapon and requires respect. Every time you set this weapon up and prepare to fire, you need to set the headspace and timing to ensure it will function correctly. This is not a too complicated procedure, but if not done correctly, can cause catastrophic failure of the weapon. Top, my first sergeant, tells me to walk the line and double-check all weapons to ensure they're safe to fire. I get to one particular weapon crewed by an E5 that just hates everyone, treats his squad members like crap, and thinks he knows everything. I get in the foxhole to check the weapon and he lays into me screaming and saying, "I know what the F I'm doing. I don't need some effing E4 to double-check my work. Get the hell out of my hole now." I tell him that Top ordered me to check every weapon, and again he launches into a tirade and tells me to get the hell out of his firing position. In order to cover my own backside, I make sure every member of his gun crew acknowledges he ordered me out. I yell, "Yes, Sergeant," climb out of the firing position on the range and go about my business. Following orders, so maybe not malicious compliance, but I could have gotten Top or any other senior NCO involved and done my check. But I decided to let it go and see if he knew what he said he did. Top eyes both sides of the firing line and gets the nod from other observers, officers and other sergeants, clears the range for fire and tells everyone to open fire. Lots of noise and thunder along the line, and a very loud and unnatural bang, and screaming from "Sergeant, get out of my hole's foxhole." We cease fire and a medic runs to the hole. It seems he did not know how to do this or rushed a simple job, and blew the feed tray cover off of his weapon and caught some blast to his face. The result? Weapon damaged pretty badly, and will require Division Depot maintenance to repair, and Sergeant Get Out of My Hole has a broken nose and singed eyebrows. Lucky he did not get hurt worse, and his assistant gunner luckily avoided injury. Top heard the whole story, and forevermore in our unit, Top and the other senior non-commissioned officers refer to him as Sergeant Headspace. There's certainly an element of malicious compliance here, and well done for allowing karma to take its course. Nevertheless, holding a higher rank doesn't necessarily preclude you from issuing orders to someone if you possess the appropriate level of authority. Hopefully the next time you saw him, you were able to tell him to let you do your D job. I hope you enjoyed these stories. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Have a good day!